Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about Have Gun Will Travel, the board game. This game was manufactured in 1959 by Parker Brothers. It is a game based on the CBS television show. It seats anywhere from 2 to 4 players, runs for about 30 minutes of game time, and is rated for ages 10 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? Have Gun Will Travel is a game based on the television adventures of the famed Paladin, who accepts assignments to capture outlaws of the Old West. All players represent this bold and daring character during the play of the game. The object of the game is to be the first player to earn the required amount of reward money by capturing outlaws and returning them to San Francisco. If 4 players play, the total of $15,000 in rewards is required to win the game. If 3 players, $20,000 is required, and if 2 players play, $25,000 is required. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with a deck of 20 Have Gun Will Travel cards, 20 bullet tokens, 5 in each color of red, yellow, blue, and green, 4 playing pieces, again in red, yellow, blue, and green, 2 spinners, and a playing board. To set up this game, the Have Gun Will Travel cards are shuffled and 1 card is dealt to each player. The rest of the cards are placed face down on a convenient place alongside the game board. Each player selects a playing piece and 5 bullets of the same color. All players spin the gun indicator, and the player spinning the highest number goes first. If a player stops on a line on their spin, they get to spin again. There are 3 types of tracks on the board. On the horseshoe tracks, players can only move in a forward direction, that is, in the direction of the closed ends of the horseshoes. On the wagon wheel tracks, players may move in either direction, but may not reverse direction in the middle of a move. And finally, on the chessman track, returning to San Francisco, players move forward only, but are safe from ambushes by other players. The first player spins and moves forward the number of spaces indicated. If they reach the wagon wheel track, they may turn off on it or may continue to follow the horseshoe track. At any time during the game that the player comes into an intersection of 2 tracks, they may continue along the track they are on or turn off onto the new track. In turning from a wagon wheel track to a horseshoe track, however, they can only go in for the forward direction. After the first player has completed their turn, the player to their left plays in a similar manner, and play continues in a clockwise direction around the board. On the back of each Have Gun Will Travel card is the name of an outlaw and the reward offered for their capture. Each player, without revealing their card to the other players, finds their outlaw and the town in which they are located and attempts to go there by the shortest route. Towns are indicated by the horseshoe circles. A player does not have to reach a town by exact count. When a player arrives at a town where the outlaw is located, they immediately spin the indicator again. If the spin stops on hit, they have captured their outlaw and places one of their bullets on the outlaw's picture to show that they have completed this assignment. They then draw another card and, still on the same turn, move in the direction of the new assignment, the number of spaces indicated on the spinner, under the hit they have just spun. If instead spinning a hit, they spin a miss, they turn ends, and on the next turn they try again to spin a hit. They must spin a hit before drawing their next card and moving off to their new assignment. If a player's piece lands on a space already occupied by an opponent's piece, they must shoot it out with that opponent. Each player involved spins an indicator, and the player spinning the highest number wins. The winner moves forward the number of spaces that they spun. At the same time, they move the loser's piece in any direction which they wish, the number of spaces which the loser has spun. If the loser has 1 or more bullets on the board, they must remove one of those bullets and may not draw another card until they go back and recapture that outlaw, in addition to capturing the one that they were after at the time of the shooting it out. If the loser has no bullets on the board, there is no penalty other than moving the playing piece. If players shoot it out, spin the same number, they continue to spin until one player spins a higher number than the other. The chessmen spaces and the towns are safety spaces which may be occupied by more than one player at a time. Players do not shoot it out on those spaces. Whenever a playing piece lands on any of the ambush spaces, they must shoot it out with an imaginary opponent. On the same turn, they spin the indicator again, and if it spins a hit, they move forward the number of spaces on the indicator. If they spin a miss, they must remove one of their bullets from the board and move back the number of spaces indicated under miss. They cannot draw a new card until they have recaptured the outlaw that they just lost. As soon as a player has collected enough reward money to win the game, they may attempt to return to San Francisco with the outlaws that they have captured. It is often advisable to try to capture one or more extra outlaws so that they may lose one or two and still win the game. A player may never have in their possession more than 5 outlaw cards. A player does not have to recapture outlaws which they have lost if they still have the required amount of reward money. The first player to reach San Francisco by exact count with the required amount or more than the required amount of reward money wins the game. Well, this has been an overview of Have Gun Will Travel, the board game. Have Gun Will Travel, the board game is a pretty fair game, in my opinion. It's very easy to pick up, very easy to play, very easy to learn. It has a nice competitive element to it, especially when you get into gunfights and you can go hunt down your opponents and try to one-up them. It has that nice random element where you can get ambushed on bridges by random opponents that aren't in the game. I think it's a very well-built game. It's a fun game to play. And I think it is a easy game to pick up for anyone on a family game night, anyone that wants to play something just a little bit different. The downside of this is it is one of those 60s board games where you have to get to the end by exact count, which can get annoying. But other than that, I think it's a fairly easy game to play. As kids go, I would say, yeah, it's a very kid-friendly game. Granted, it has a lot of guns in it, but if you're okay with that, I think it's a good game if you want to teach kids, if you want to play with them. It's a very wholesome playing game. The game itself goes online anywhere from about $50 to $100 if you can find it. It is a little on the rarer side. Again, it is based off of a television show that aired from the late 50s to the early 60s, so it is not a well-known board game, but I think it has enough material in it to make it a good game to play on with kids or friends. So if you haven't played the Have Gun Will Travel board game, I would take a look at it. It has a great looking board, it has really nice art, it has the nice Paladin business cards where you have to flip them over and it tells you where to go, which is based out of the television show. The horses are multicolored Monopoly pieces. Again, it's a Parker Brothers game, so they just kind of recycled some of the metal pieces off of the Monopoly pieces. But I think it fits. So if you haven't tried or looked at the Have Gun Will Travel board game, I would recommend playing this game. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamers Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Have Gun Will Travel, the board game from Parker Brothers. If there's a game in the future you'd like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.